The music pulsed like a giant heart, thumping against Connor's chest. Laughter, sharp and bright, cut through the air, mixing with the clinking of glasses. Everywhere he looked, people were talking, shouting to be heard over the DJ's heavy bass. It was a rooftop party, high above the city, a sea of happy faces under a canopy of string lights. But for Connor, it was too much. Each sound, each flash of light, felt like a tiny poke, pushing at his calm until it started to fray. He tried to enjoy himself. He'd smiled, nodded, even attempted a few small conversations that quickly got lost in the noise. But the energy of the crowd, once exciting, now felt like a heavy blanket pressing down on him. He could feel a hum behind his eyes, a low thrum that promised a headache if he didn't escape soon. He just needed a moment, a breath of air that wasn't thick with perfume and excitement. With a quiet sigh, Connor began to move. He didn't make a big show of leaving, didn't tap anyone on the shoulder to say goodbye. He just started walking, slowly at first, then a little faster, weaving through the dancing bodies and groups of friends. He kept his head down, hoping to blend into the background, to become invisible for just a few minutes. He passed the bar, where drinks were being poured with a flourish, and skirted around a couple laughing loudly. The edge of the rooftop, where the city lights glittered like scattered jewels, called to him. It was a little less crowded over there, a sliver of space where he might find some peace. He could almost feel the cool night air on his face, a promise of quiet. His shoulders, which had been hunched tight, began to relax just a fraction as he neared the railing. He felt a small victory, a tiny escape from the joyful chaos. Connor was almost at the railing, the faint breeze a welcome touch on his skin, when a gentle hand touched his arm. He flinched, startled, and turned to see Ethan standing there. Ethan, with his easy smile and eyes that always seemed to notice things others missed. He hadn't seen Ethan near him in the crowd. Ethan's smile was soft, not the wide, boisterous kind that belonged at a party. It was a knowing smile, as if he understood Connor's need for quiet without a single word being spoken. The string lights above them cast a warm, fuzzy glow, making Ethan's hair look like spun gold. He wasn't loud like the party, but a quiet presence that instantly felt calming. "Hey," Ethan said, his voice low but clear enough to cut through the distant thrum of the music. He didn't ask, "Are you okay?" or "Where are you going?" Instead, his eyes simply met Connor's, full of a gentle question. Connor felt a blush creep up his neck. He hadn't meant to be rude by slipping away, but he hadn't wanted to explain himself either. "Hey," Connor mumbled back, feeling a bit awkward. He gestured vaguely back at the party. "Just taking a break." Ethan nodded slowly, his gaze still holding Connor's. He didn't pull his hand away from Connor's arm, just let it rest there, a light, comforting weight. He then looked towards the railing where Connor had been heading, then back to Connor, as if asking if that was still the plan. "It's a lot, isn't it?" Ethan said, his voice a little softer this time. He took a small step, putting himself between Connor and the main party, creating a tiny pocket of peace. The string lights above them seemed to gather, making their corner feel more private, a little world away from the loud celebration. Connor found himself nodding, a sense of relief washing over him that someone understood. Ethan didn't press, didn't demand. He just stood there, quiet and steady, giving Connor the space he needed, but also letting him know he wasn't alone. Connor found himself nodding, a silent agreement passing between them. He felt a sense of calm starting to spread through him, like warm honey. He was still a little tense, but Ethan's presence was like a soft hand smoothing out the edges of his frayed nerves. He looked past Ethan, at the railing and the glittering city lights beyond, then back at Ethan's kind face. "I just needed a minute," Connor said, his voice a little clearer now, though still soft. He wasn't sure what he was going to do after his minute was up. Go back to the party? Leave altogether? The thought of either felt heavy. Ethan's hand was still resting lightly on Connor's arm, a gentle anchor. He looked at Connor, his eyes soft and understanding. Then, almost too quiet to hear over the distant party buzz and the rumble of the city below, Ethan spoke. "Don't go yet," he whispered. The words were so soft, Connor almost thought he imagined them. But the way Ethan's fingers tightened just a tiny bit on his arm, and the way his eyes held Connor's, told him it was real. It wasn't a demand, or even a strong request. It was more like a suggestion, a soft plea carried on the cool night air. The city sounds, the faraway horns and hum of traffic, seemed to gather around the words, making them feel even more private, meant only for Connor. Ethan didn't move much, but his body leaned in just a little, a small, unspoken invitation to stay right where they were. Connor felt a strange pull. He had been so set on getting away, on finding solitude. But Ethan's gentle touch and whispered words had stopped him in his tracks. It was as if a tiny, invisible string had connected them, making it hard to pull away. The thought of leaving, of stepping back into the loud party, or even going home, suddenly felt less appealing than staying right here, in this quiet bubble with Ethan. He looked at Ethan, a new question forming in his mind, one that wasn't about escaping, but about staying. Connor felt the soft tug of Ethan's words, a gentle rope pulling him back. He had been looking away, towards the distant city, but now his gaze snapped back to Ethan. The question in his eyes wasn't just about staying, but about why. Why did Ethan want him to stay? As Connor turned fully, facing Ethan square on, Ethan took another small step forward. It wasn't a rush, but a slow, sure movement, like a leaf drifting closer in a still pond. Now, their bodies were almost touching in the cool night air. Connor could feel the faint warmth radiating from Ethan, a stark contrast to the chill that had been settling over him. He could even smell a hint of something fresh, like mint or clean laundry, that was distinctly Ethan. The space between them, once a comfortable distance, had shrunk to almost nothing. Connor's breath hitched slightly in his throat. He wasn't used to this closeness, especially not with the loud party still humming behind them. It felt as if they were in their own tiny world, a secret bubble of quiet carved out of the noisy night. The string lights above them seemed to focus their glow, making the area around them brighter, more intimate. Ethan's hand, which had been on Connor's arm, now gently slid down to his wrist, a light, warm touch. It wasn't a hold, but a connection, a silent promise. Connor didn't pull away. He couldn't. He felt rooted to the spot, held by Ethan's quiet strength and the unspoken questions in his eyes. He looked into those eyes, seeing a warmth that made his own chest feel a little lighter. The city noise, which had been a bothersome drone, now seemed to fade even further, becoming a soft backdrop to the quiet moment they shared. The cool air around them felt less like a chill and more like a fresh, clean embrace. The silence between them stretched, not an awkward silence, but one filled with understanding. Connor's heart, which had been racing from the party's intensity, had now slowed to a gentle beat. Ethan's hand still rested on his wrist, a light, comforting weight. Connor found himself simply looking at Ethan, lost in the quiet moment. Then Ethan spoke again, his voice a soft murmur that was barely audible over the distant party chatter. "It's cold out here," he said. As he spoke, a small cloud of white mist puffed out from his lips, hanging in the air between them for just a moment before vanishing. The visible breath showed just how chilly the night had become, even under the warm glow of the string lights. Ethan leaned in even closer, his head tilting slightly, so his words would reach Connor's ear without needing to be louder. Connor could feel the warmth of Ethan's breath, even as he saw its frosty trace. It was a strange mix of warm and cool, a tiny, personal cloud in their shared space. The closeness was new, but not unwelcome. It felt natural, like a puzzle piece sliding into place. "You look like you needed a break," Ethan added, his voice still low, almost a whisper. He wasn't asking, he was stating, as if he knew exactly what Connor was feeling. There was no judgment in his tone, just a simple, kind observation. Connor felt a knot in his stomach loosen even more. It was a relief to be seen, to be understood without having to explain. Connor found himself nodding again, his gaze still fixed on Ethan's face. He didn't have to say anything, because Ethan seemed to already know. The way Ethan leaned in, the visible puffs of his breath, the soft sound of his words, it all made their connection feel more real, more important than the loud party happening just a few steps away. In this small, quiet bubble, under the gentle glow of the string lights, Connor felt a warmth spreading through him that had nothing to do with the temperature of the night. Connor felt a strange and strong pull towards Ethan. It was like the way a heavy stone falls to the earth, or how a boat is drawn to the shore. A sense of gravity. He had been ready to float away, to disappear into the night, but Ethan was holding him fast, not with force, but with a quiet, steady presence. He looked at Ethan, truly looked at him. The soft glow of the string lights made Ethan's eyes sparkle, and his expression was open and kind. Connor realized he didn't want to move. The thought of stepping back into the party, or even continuing his escape to the railing, felt wrong. It was as if this small, lit-up space with Ethan was exactly where he was meant to be. Ethan's hand was still on his wrist, a warm, gentle touch. It was a simple thing, but it grounded Connor, making him feel connected. He felt a quiet warmth spread through his chest, chasing away the last bits of the party's frantic energy. He had been seeking solitude, but what he found with Ethan felt even better. It was a shared quiet, a calm that was bigger than just himself. The city hummed below them, a constant, low sound that usually felt busy and loud. But now it was just a backdrop, a soft rhythm to their quiet moment. The cool night air still swirled around them, but Connor no longer felt the chill. He only felt the closeness of Ethan, the gentle weight of his hand, and the unspoken understanding in his eyes. He took a slow, deep breath, letting it out with a quiet sigh. He hadn't realized how much he needed this moment of stillness with someone who simply understood. He wasn't sure what would happen next, but for now, the only thing that mattered was staying close to Ethan in this small, glowing bubble of peace. The world outside, with its loud music and flashing lights, could wait. Here, with Ethan, was where he wanted to be. With a quiet sigh, Connor settled into the space beside Ethan. The pull he felt was not just to stay, but to be with Ethan. He looked at Ethan, a soft smile gracing his lips for the first time that night. "Yeah," Connor murmured, his voice a little raspy from disuse. A break was definitely needed. Ethan's own smile widened, a gentle curving of his lips that reached his eyes. "Sometimes," he said, his voice a soft, low rumble that seemed to vibrate gently in the air between them. "The best parties are the quiet ones." Connor chuckled, a small, genuine sound. "This isn't exactly quiet," he pointed out, nodding subtly towards the distant party, the thumping bass still a faint echo. But even as he said it, he knew it felt quiet here, with Ethan. "True," Ethan agreed, his eyes sparkling in the string lights. "But it's a different kind of quiet, isn't it? A chosen quiet." Their conversation began to unfold slowly, like petals opening on a night-blooming flower. Their words were soft, needing only a gentle push to be heard by each other, unlike the shouts and forced laughter that filled the main party. They talked about the city lights below, how they stretched out like a blanket of scattered diamonds. They talked about the cool air and how nice it felt after the stuffy warmth of the crowd. Each sentence was thoughtful, given space to hang in the air for a moment before the next reply. There was no rush, no need to fill every silence. The quiet pauses were not empty, but full of unspoken understanding. It felt easy, comfortable, a slow dance of words and looks that felt as steady and strong as the Earth's gravity. Connor found himself sharing little things, thoughts he wouldn't have shouted across a noisy room. And Ethan listened, truly listened, his gaze warm and steady. This was a conversation that didn't demand, but invited. The conversation flowed, gentle and unforced, like a small stream winding through quiet woods. They talked about simple things, about how the city looked from up high, about the cool breeze. Connor found himself relaxing more with each passing minute, the tightness in his shoulders slowly easing. He felt a lightness he hadn't known he needed. Ethan had just finished telling a short, funny story about trying to cook a fancy meal for himself, which made Connor laugh softly. As the laugh faded, their eyes met. It wasn't a quick glance, but a long, steady look that held more meaning than any words could. In that moment, The world around them seemed to dim even further, and the only light was the one shining between their gazes. Connor saw a deep kindness in Ethan's eyes, a warmth that seemed to reach right into his own heart. He also saw a reflection of his own feelings, a shared sense of peace, a quiet joy in just being there. It was as if Ethan could see right into his mind, understanding all the things Connor couldn't say out loud. There was no need for explanations, no need for big speeches. It was all there, clear as day, in the silent space between their eyes. A silent understanding passed between them, a bond forming without a single sound. It was a feeling of being truly seen, truly accepted, in a way Connor rarely experienced. The small touches, Ethan's hand on his wrist, the closeness of their bodies, all faded into the background. What mattered was this silent connection, strong and clear. Connor felt his breath catch, but not from the cold. It was from the surprising depth of this moment, a quiet understanding that felt bigger than the whole loud party behind them. He felt a deep sense of belonging, right here with Ethan. It was a feeling that settled into his bones, making him feel truly at ease. The silent understanding that had passed between them was a warm blanket wrapping around Connor. He felt utterly comfortable, more at ease than he had been all day. The loud, thumping music from the party, which had been like a hammer against his skull just a short while ago, now seemed to fade into a gentle, distant hum. It was no longer a bother, but simply a part of the city's faraway song. In Ethan's presence, Connor found a deep well of comfort. It wasn't just the quiet words or the gentle touches, but the whole way Ethan was. He was calm, steady, and kind. It was like finding a quiet haven in the middle of a storm. Connor felt his shoulders truly drop, his whole body letting go of the tension he hadn't even realized he was holding. He took another deep breath, and this time it felt completely free and easy. He shifted slightly, leaning just a little bit closer to Ethan, not even realizing he was doing it. It was a natural movement, like a plant turning towards the sun. Ethan's presence was like that sun, a gentle warmth that invited him to relax and just be. The string lights overhead continued to twinkle, casting a soft, golden glow that made their corner feel safe and special. The sounds of the city, the distant sirens, the whoosh of cars far below, usually made Connor feel small and overwhelmed. But now, they were just background noise, soft and unimportant. They couldn't reach him in this bubble of peace he shared with Ethan. He felt a sense of calm that reached deep into his bones. It was a comfort he hadn't known he needed, a quiet anchor in the midst of a busy world. He simply stood there, content in the closeness, letting the comfort of Ethan wash over him. He felt safe, seen, and completely at peace. The world outside their small circle seemed to dim and soften. The party's loud energy was a faint echo, easily ignored. Connor and Ethan simply stood there, side by side, under the gentle glow of the string lights. Minutes stretched into what felt like much longer, but neither of them seemed to notice the passing time. There was no need for constant chatter, no pressure to fill the air with words. The quiet between them was not empty or awkward. It was full and rich, a comfortable blanket that wrapped them both. Connor found himself just breathing, deeply and easily, something he hadn't realized he'd forgotten how to do amidst the party's clamor. Ethan's hand still rested gently on Connor's wrist, a steady, comforting weight. It was a silent promise, a quiet anchor in the bustling city night. Connor felt a profound sense of peace, a stillness that had been missing from his life. He glanced at Ethan, who was looking out at the city lights, his profile soft in the warm glow. Ethan seemed just as content, just as settled in the quiet. They stood like two old friends, even though their connection was still so new. The city below twinkled like a vast, scattered jewel box, and the cool night air was fresh against their faces. Connor felt a quiet joy bubble up inside him. It wasn't loud or flashy, just a soft, steady happiness that came from being truly at peace and truly seen. The simple act of standing together, not needing to perform or explain, was a gift. It was a rare and precious moment of calm, a shared space where the world's demands melted away. Connor knew he could stay like this for a very long time, simply enjoying the quiet comfort of Ethan's presence. Every beat of his heart felt slower, deeper, more real. As they stood together in their quiet corner, the string lights above them seemed to come alive. Each tiny bulb twinkled and glowed, casting a warm, soft light that danced in Ethan's hair and made Connor's skin feel like it was bathed in moonlight. It wasn't a harsh party light, but a gentle, comforting sparkle that made their shared space feel truly special. The twinkling lights were like a secret canopy, creating a magical little world just for them. It felt private, like they were hidden away from everything else, even though the loud party was still happening just a few steps behind them. The lights seemed to gather around them, making the city lights below look even further away. Connor looked up at the lights, then back at Ethan. He saw the soft glow reflected in Ethan's eyes, making them shine even brighter. It felt like they were under a blanket of tiny stars, a special moment that only they shared. The cool night air, once a simple chill, now felt crisp and fresh, adding to the magic of the moment. The gentle twinkling made everything feel softer, more dreamlike. The edges of the buildings across the city seemed to shimmer, and the distant sounds of traffic became a soothing whisper. In this magical space, Connor felt completely safe and at peace. It was a place where worries couldn't reach, where the loud demands of the day had no power. Ethan's presence, already so comforting, became even more so under this starry canopy. It was as if the lights were blessing their quiet moment, making it stronger and more beautiful. Connor felt a smile spread across his face, a genuine, easy smile that reached his eyes. This wasn't just a break from the party. It was a discovery, a moment of unexpected magic found in the most unlikely of places. The soft, twinkling lights above them continued their gentle dance, casting a warm glow on Connor's face. He felt a deep contentment settle over him like a soft, heavy blanket. The magic of the moment, mixed with Ethan's calm presence, made everything else fade away. He realized with a surprising clarity that he didn't want to leave. The thought of stepping back into the party's loud energy, or even going home, now felt like a chore, a disturbance to this perfect peace. He had come to the rooftop seeking an escape, a way to get away from something. But now, he found himself wanting to stay, to simply be right here. It wasn't just about escaping the noise anymore. It was about embracing the quiet and embracing the connection he felt with Ethan. Connor turned his head slightly, meeting Ethan's gaze once more. There was no need for words, but a soft smile touched his lips. Ethan returned the smile, a gentle curve that spoke volumes. In that shared look, Connor knew Ethan understood. He understood the need for quiet, the comfort found in stillness, and the unexpected joy of shared peace. A warmth spread through Connor's chest, a feeling of pure happiness. He was happy to be with Ethan, happy in this quiet bubble under the string lights, happy to just exist in this moment. The world could buzz and thump around them, but here they were safe, connected, and completely at ease. Connor took a slow, deep breath, letting it out with a contented sigh. He had found something precious and unexpected on this noisy rooftop. He didn't know what the rest of the night would bring, or what tomorrow held, but right now, this was enough. More than enough. He was exactly where he wanted to be, happy in the peaceful quiet with Ethan by his side.